Hi there guys, Westerosifitness here. Welcome to my first introductory video to my Game of Thrones reviews. In this introductory video to my channel, I will be discussing the topic of fan service in the show and how I feel that it negatively affects the writing and characters. By this I mean that the writers focus more on what fans might want to see in the show versus what might actually be good for the show in terms of writing and character development. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to focus on the Arya Hound arc of this past season, much like I did in one of my last posts on westerosifitness.wordpress.com, and talk about how I feel that it was a bad choice for the show and the season overall and did not add a lot to it. So what I'm talking about is, if you've read the books, then you know that the Hound really died in that bar in episode 1 of season 4. And when I saw that scene happening, I thought that was what they were going to do, and I thought that was a very brave choice of the writers to kill off such a loved character of the fan base in the very first episode. And I thought that that was going to be their way of starting the season off with a bang. But they didn't do that. They just let him live through it, and then they started this little buddy cop routine with Arya and the Hound. And the deal with that is, the Hound is not a good guy, and he does not ever develop a loving relationship with Arya in any form. And on the flip side, Arya is a disturbed little girl. And the way they keep switching her from this cute, lovable person who all the fans love to laugh at to this stone-cold killer who says nothing is nothing to a dying farmer guy, that messes with their character arcs. You can't flip back and forth. Arya just saw her brother's body with the head of his wolf tied to it, being carted around on a horse. She's not going to have a lot of good feelings left in her after that. Okay, so these scenes, that scene at the farmer's house where the farmer takes them in and they eat lunch, and Arya acts like the proper lady and says all the right things. Do we remember the first season when Arya totally hated everything to do with that? She hated all the formalities, she hated acting like a little lady, but then all of a sudden she does, because she has to be the grown-up one because Sandor Clegane is not being nice. And that's a flip on the character. And I honestly think the writers just forgot about that from season 1 and just wrote this without thinking. And also, Sandor beating up the farmer and stealing his gold was just a way of them reminding the audience, because they've done such a poor job of it, that Sandor Clegane is bad, and you should not like him, because he's a bad guy. So that when they get to this stupid Brienne and Hound fight, you are rooting for Brienne, but I don't think that anybody was rooting for Brienne over the Hound, except for maybe girls who wanted the girl to win, maybe. Not trying to be sexist there, but you know, that's a thing. Making up that there's a bounty on the Hound, so that the Hound is afraid that Brienne is after him for the bounty, so that there's a reason to fight. That's making up a whole lot of stuff to make something happen that didn't happen in the books, and then it's still dumb when it happens. Like, did you notice that? The scene starts off kind of humorously with Brienne and Pod waking up and noticing that the horses are gone, so they go looking for the horses, and they find Arya and figure out that she's Arya for some reason, somehow, I don't remember how. And then the Hound shows up and doesn't like Brienne because he knows that she's a Lannister or has worked for the Lannisters, and so he's going to fight her now because she has a Valyrian sword. And so they fight. And it's a big, I guess it's a good fight. It was well choreographed. It wasn't a bad fight or anything, but the reason behind it was so baffling that you couldn't feel anything really during the fight, except for you didn't want either of these characters to be killed. which would be kind of cool if it made more sense. That would be a neat thing to happen in the show where two characters are fighting and you love both of them. You don't want either of them to lose this fight. So I think maybe people identified more with the Hound just because he's been with the show longer and he's a more likable character up front. He's got more qualities to him and he's helped out more of the main characters than Brienne has. Brienne's just been with Jaime and is now on this mission that is very different from the book version. And so she beats the Hound, or the Hound falls off a cliff and just gets beaten by the fall or whatever. And then she doesn't think that maybe Arya, who's been with the Hound, might go looking for the Hound after the fight, so she never goes to look for Arya over there in like the most obvious place. Because if that happened, then she would find her and the story would be over. Because none of this happened in the books. Brienne and the Hound never meet up. Brienne's in the Riverlands, and the Hound never goes to the Eyrie. Okay, all this, I talked about all this in a document already on WordPress.com, so I'm not going to talk about it all again. But going into Season 5, this kind of fan fiction that's so ridiculous and not helpful to the show, it's enjoyable to watch at the time, but then afterwards you go back and you say, what happened? What happened in Season 4? And Joffrey died, the Purple Wedding happened, Jaime comes back with his father and all that, but all that is stretched over about 7 episodes, and between episode 2 and episode 7, there's really, what was that, 5 filler episodes? That's not good. And that's because of the way that they decided to split things out with fan fiction, like this Arya arc here. Okay, and going into Season 5, we now know that Bronn is going to be in Dorne. I don't know how, I don't know why. I thought he was getting married to Lollies, as in the books. But no, now there's new information that he will be in Dorne, doing stuff with the Sand Snakes. And I hope Arianne Martell is in this. She's the main character in the Dornish arc. I haven't seen a casting call for her yet, so I hope she's in it. But yeah, this worries me because this seems like small things, but it affects the overall show. Season 1 was the strongest because they stuck with the books and the character arcs that the books presented and the story arcs that the books presented. Since then, they've been kind of deviating a little more and a little more. And it's all like the falling of small pebbles. I can't remember what George R. Martin, he called it like the snowflake effect or something. It's going to make an avalanche that's going to affect the characters later on in the story. And so, I don't know. Season 4 should have been amazing, and it wasn't because of all these reasons, because of the addiction to fan service that the writers seem to have gotten. I know this video maybe ranted on a little bit, but it was my first video, so cut me some slack. Post any questions or any comments you have about this issue of fan service, about Arya and all this. Not just Arya, but fan service in general, what you thought was fan service or what could have been done better. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll have a better, more level video in the future, more concise, not just me ranting, holding a pencil in my hand. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. For all that you do, visit me at Instagram, at YouTube, and on WordPress.com, Westerosifitness. Thank you.